Hello and welcome to the Evolve Show, where we show you many different new things about related technology to vrchat and interesting worlds to showcase. I'm Parzeval, I create content all around vrchat, and we also have absolutely wonderful people who are going to introduce themselves and tell you more about what they're going to showcase specifically. And we also have a very interesting guest to our show this time. But before we go into that, let's get you a little more familiar with the people sitting next to me here. And let's start off with Wolfie.
Hello, everybody. I'm Wunder Wulfe. I do the VR tech news for this podcast. And even though it seems that maybe this year shifted a lot of focus into XR glasses, there's still more things to talk about that are coming relatively soon this year.
Nice, looking forward to it. And we also have Alecamar, our guest today.
Yeah, so my name is Alejandro, and I'm the founder of a startup called Flexpos, and we're working on a new VR tracking system, and we're going to talk more about it later. So,
I'm so sorry for mispronouncing the name. I'm so sorry. Alejandro. Okay, I'm sorry.
yes.
I just gotta get used to this again. Okay, and we have Karen.
Hey, hello, my name is Kieran, and I am your host for Presenting Worlds today. And I got a couple of really nice ones for you as well today. So, well, we'll just talk about it later first.
Yeah, all right.
Let's go
And
back to
unfortunately, Lyra is not able here this time to show some cool VR games, but Wolfie has a lot of interesting tech news to let you know about. And let's start off with them.
So first up, the first thing I want to talk about is something that happened relatively recently in September, the MetaConnect keynote. So it took place on the 17th and 18th, and it focused on XR glasses, AI, and a lot of the Horizon Worlds metaverse stuff. It introduced, for example, a VR video hub for cinematic experience, so you can have support for immersive special effects, 3D, Dolby Vision, and Atmos. So if you've ever wanted to watch a lot of those movies in VR without, going to theater or putting on 3D glasses, there's another way to experience those things, and especially without all the expensive speaker setups. There's also a neural wristband device for precise tracking of hand movements through electromagnetic sensors that will detect, nerve function and muscle movements. So you can do gestures and control things in AR or VR without needing to use a controller and without even seeing your hand. There's also this hyperscape capture, for Quest devices, turning real spaces into virtual ones, currently rolling out to everybody who owns a Quest device. This lets you use your cameras on your device to capture the world around you and do basically photogrammetry, creating all of the virtual spaces from the real ones. There's also some AI-generated stuff, of course, with the worlds and Horizon Worlds and NPCs planned, and a live AI system on the glasses that can currently only support 1 hour of use, far from, the all-day use. And it didn't work quite right in the demo, but hopefully things will get better and you'll be able to use it in time of the release of these glasses. So the reception of it was kind of mixed. Creators and users felt let down for the most part with the lack of VR headset discussion and the emphasis on AR and AI, of course, that people are not too fond of, but it is what it is. And the live AI and video calling features reported to function better than the demos at the actual event would show. So hopefully that is true and it's not going to release in a bugged state. As for my own research to sort of make up for the lack of VR content in the keynote, the Meta's Pismos headset projects have reportedly been canceled. So they're no longer working on the Quest 4 project that they were talking about, or at least we don't know to the extent that they are working on it anymore. And the focus has instead shifted toward a new ultralight headset design with a computing puck, like a little computer device, instead of computing in the headset for next year. But again, the Quest 4 status currently unknown, but it is thought to be delayed at least until 2027. However, there's more things to talk about, like the Babel team, notable for their face trackers, who have recently branched out into eye tracking as well. So this software includes face tracking, but also eye tracking, using similar methods that they use for the face tracking. And it came out on the 6th of September as part of a public beta before it becomes fully released in a functional standpoint. So it's hardware agnostic, meaning it runs on practically all devices, and it offers apps for iOS and Android, as well as a Windows app. One caveat, though, is for some platforms, you might be required to compile the application yourself. So it might not be available to download, but if you're a developer or someone who's tech literate, you can probably figure out how to build an application for your platform. Now, the previous Babel software used Python, and it wasn't exactly cross-platform. There was a version called Babel.net, which was cross-platform, but this version is way more easy to port, and it's also more efficient. However, another problem with it currently is that it requires VRC face tracking to also be running at the same time as Babylonia if you want to support all of the features that are common for VRChat avatars, like expressive mouth tracking and expressive eye animations, because otherwise it does support the native eye animation, so you can look around and blink, but you can't wink and do other things that you can with the VRC face tracking application currently. This is something that they are working on still. In other headset news, the Pimax Dream Air has also been delayed for a few months. So initially, it was planned to ship in May, and I did talk about it, I believe, 2 episodes ago, but many deadlines have been missed in production. The Steam VR versions are planned to come in December, with standalone versions coming next year. And the concave pancake lenses that they use give you a little bit more room in the headset, so your eyelashes don't get in the way of the lenses. It has still an 110 degrees promised horizontal field of view for the high-end model, and a $2,000 price tag plus $300 for the standalone tracking version, with the lighter version, the SE version, costing half as much, around about. And some updates to the EOZ VR gloves also, because after some delays, they are finally ready to get into their testing stages. So it was initially delayed due to some conflicts with the original design. They had some issues with the durability and the structure of the gloves, which made it not last that long, and also had problems with the tracking, but they are working on it, and the new prototypes have finally been made, as you can see in the video. They were tested during the Tokyo Game Show that happened a few weeks ago, around 200 times. So they were still working after all those people tested it. Hopefully that means they will work in the alpha version as well. Now, the notes that I took from the videos and from all the demonstrations that they had at the event, the fingers were tracked accurately for splay and curl and bend, so it was a lot like UD caps and other motion tracking gloves like the Contact, but it did seem a lot more accurate and consistent. And they're currently working out on some tracking issues in the software. Like I saw, for example, there was a little bit of delay in the finger tracking, and also some of the fingers, like the middle or ring finger, had tracking issues. But they told me that these were software complications and that there's something that they're actively working on, and it should be fixed around by the time that we get it into our own hands. So hopefully they fix that. There is also the alpha beta units themselves are shipping in mid to late November and arriving in December. So hopefully by the New Year's, I should have a pair of gloves to show you guys on the set to show you how they work and how good they are. Fingers crossed. And the price will not change. It is still $250 for the gloves themselves, $490 if you buy the trackers in a bundle. Of course, these do not change with tariffs or any of other recent things that have been going on, so do not worry about those. It's terrifically fine. The pre-orders are also planned to take place in December, and the release, again, planned next year, specifically around March 2026 is the deadline that they gave me. So does anybody from the audience have any questions over any of the things I just talked about? The gloves, yeah, in the chat or in the instance.
So far, none. But that's no problem. In the chat. Oh, we do have some. If you want, I can read it to you, Wolfie.
Yeah.
So we have were you talking about Babel eye tracking, and what are the costs of the glove?
So I believe I answered the cost of the glove. It was $250 to buy the gloves themselves, and then $500, almost $500, if you want to buy the gloves and the trackers needed for the gloves, which have to be Tundra trackers currently. You can't just use Vive trackers for them. And the eye tracking, yes, I am talking about Project Babylonia, which is the new software that Project Babel has released, which does the eye tracking as well as the face tracking.
And I think so far we don't have. Oh, do we have? Oh, we do have another question. And will there be programs or drivers made for the EOS gloves made for Linux?
That I'm not entirely sure about. I won't be able to comment it for now, but it is something that they're probably likely to explore in the future. But there's nothing concrete that I know yet.
We have another question from the chat.
Yes, Babel is making eye tracking.
Will the gloves come with a mini joystick for movement, like the other VR
Yes.
gloves?
Yes, they do come with these. So I have like a. Let me turn these arm warmers off. Give me a minute. VR chat problems.
I love it when Wolfie pulls out the gloves in VR.
But
It's so cool.
yeah, they should look something like this. I'm sure you saw in the videos something similar, but they have this unit right here. This is the thing you're talking about. This is a part that you can attach and detach from the gloves. These are the Magnetra 2 controllers. You can find these on the contact gloves sold by Diver X. They do have a joystick on here and some buttons as well as a trigger. And they don't come with the gloves. They come as like an accessory. You can buy them separately and put them on the gloves. But they don't come with like a joystick by default. But they do support that Magnetra controller.
Okay.
You can also use a gamepad controller. Like if you have an Xbox controller or something like that, you can move around with that, or maybe like a Joy-Cons.
No questions so far. If you guys still have any questions, you can ask them in the chat. I'll be very open to read them for Wolfie out and for Alecamar. I'm sorry for mispronouncing the name. But also, I also have to mention, feel free to subscribe and follow the show. It's completely for free. It's absolutely no taxes whatsoever, no tariffs. But let's get going with the interview with you two.
Yeah. Hello, Alejandro.
Hello.
How you doing?
Yeah, really good. Thank you. I'm a bit nervous to be here, but I will do my best.
It's perfectly fine. I get it. But honestly, we've seen trackers that use base stations, cameras, and even LiDAR. But what about electromagnetic fields? Can you like give us a brief explanation of how all that works?
Yeah, so basically we have two different types of trackers. So when you use Flaxpose, there are two different types of trackers. You have a tracker called the beacon that we call. You usually wear that in your waist. Even though it's a beacon, it also acts as like a track point by itself, so it counts as a tracker. It's just a bit bigger than the other trackers, which we actually call trackers. What they do is that the beacon sends some magnetic fields into the air, which the other trackers pick up. And based on those fields, the tracker can know its position and rotation in relation to the beacon itself. So if you are also wearing a tracker in your headset, then we can figure out the position of every tracker in your body just by like combining all these positions and rotations from all the devices relative to each other. So we combine all that data and we know where every tracker is in space, pretty much.
I see. So in that case, you still need at least like one tracking system that's sort of like independent that could still, be occluded.
Yeah, so
Okay.
we rely on the tracking system of the HND itself, which it's mandatory for VR, so it's usually not an issue. So we trust the SLAM from a Quest Pro, for example, or a Pico 4, and then we build on top of that tracking itself. And like our tracking universe, our frame of reference is the one from the headset itself. So if you are using Flaxpose, you don't need any kind of external program like a space calibrator or anything like that. Our software automatically aligns the tracking space of Flaxpose with the one from the headset you're wearing. So it's kind of
Okay.
completely transparent for the user.
Awesome. Another question I have is how long did the trackers actually last after like a full charge, like individually?
Yeah, so the system has three different power modes. The normal power mode, the one we recommend for pretty much everyone and for pretty much every use case, is what we call like balance or normal power mode. This one should last from 12 to 14 hours. This might still change a bit during the beta phase because we are like refining things, changing things a bit, but it should be around 12 to 14. Then we also have like a power saving mode, which should last more than 24 hours in the future, or even more, depending on some things we might end up doing or not. Which should be enough for casual FBT. Also, if you are sleeping or just like or like standing here, for example, like, you can use that and it's going to feel as good as any others. Finally, you have one that we call performance, which is it's not really made for FBT. It's made for people that are using Flexbox trackers as controllers or gloves or things like that. If they want really, I mean, if they are going to swing the trackers at very very high speeds, they might want to use that mode, and that gives you anywhere from 5 to 6 hours of tracking time.
I see. And are those tracking modes like do you have to switch between them manually, or is it like you plan to like switch between it automatically or something like that so the user doesn't have to do anything?
Yeah, so right now, like internally, these tracking modes are just modifying like 3 different sliders, like huge sliders.
Hmm.
We just call them tracking modes because it's easier to communicate that to people. So right now you have to select one of them, at least in the beta phase. But in the near future, like yes, in a few weeks, we want to enable some kind of automatic power switching mode. Uh, and it will detect what you're doing. For example, if you're sleeping, it will automatically switch to low power mode and things like that. And with that, I think you shouldn't have to choose any power modes at all, unless you want to like have a very fixed power mode, like always high performance for whatever reason. Yeah.
Is the project SteamVR native, or can it be used with other systems like standalone?
So we've designed Flexbox from the ground up to be SteamVR native, and that's
Mhm.
also what all the, I think, 12 beta testers that we have are using. But we also support OSC trackers. So if you are running VRChat on like a standalone headset, like a Quest or whatever, you can also just through OSC like send all the tracking data to VRChat directly if you want to skip SteamVR.
And for that case, for maybe the more tech advanced people out there, you would still need to use like a computer, right, to stream the data, or would you be able to just run it on the headset itself with like an app?
So right now, at least on release, you will have to use a computer to run the software. You don't need to run the actual VR application there, but you have to
Mhm.
run some. I mean, it's a very lightweight application, so pretty much any laptop should work. We are also going to make it like a completely compatible with Linux and other OSs. So
Okay.
pretty much like even like a very small Raspberry Pi or so on should be able to just run it.
Okay. And how did the trackers like actually connect to the computer? Like how many did they use a dongle? How many devices can you use on it? How do they like talk to the computer?
So our idea when we were creating Flexpose and where we were designing the whole system is that we wanted to get rid of the concept of dongles, for example, and USB cables for charging. So what we did is we've created like a charging dock, which also behaves as a wireless dongle. So if you have a charging dock, that means you also have a dongle at the same time through the same USB connection. I mean, and for every charging dock or wireless dongle, you can. I mean, we support up to 10 devices. And if you want to have more than 10 devices, then you can just add either another charging dock, which is probably what makes sense because then you can also charge your extra devices through there, or a dongle if you prefer to, for example, put the charging dock somewhere in the living room or somewhere far from the computer and just have a dongle in your computer.
My question is also for using
Mhm.
the charging stations as dongles. I think there's concerns maybe for like the power draw, because I assume like most people are using them through like USB hubs or something like that, and I don't know if they would like be capable of charging the trackers. So do you offer like a dongle separately?
Yeah, so we offer a dongle, and what we are probably going to end up doing is the dongle that we are going to offer. So if instead of a charging dock you want to get a dongle or something else, the dongle is going to be a high range dongle. So that's like a extra thing on top of. We don't really like putting antennas on a charging dock, like external antennas, but on a dongle that you're buying specifically just for being a dongle, we don't mind it being a bit more ugly than than the dock. But also about your question with the power use of the dock, right now the docks in the beta period only have one USB port, but the ones in the release hardware are going to have two USB ports. One of them is going to be for data and low speed charging, And then if you want higher speed charging, like really fast charging in like 1 hour from 0 to 100, you're going to have a secondary USB port that you can use to get those higher charging speeds. But if you don't, but if you want to charge it slower, then you can use the USB data port, and it's also fine.
And do you know the charging times on those different connectors?
Yeah, so just using so if you just have like a very simple USB 2.0 port, all the devices are going to charge in 2 hours. If you want to use the extra USB port with a quick charging support the adapter, that's going to be in an hour from 0 to
Okay.
100%. And that's going to last, I mean, depending on the power mode, probably 12, 14 hours or even more if you're in low power mode. So
That's really cool. So you could like use them for a day, and then like you can charge them pretty much anywhere, and they'll be ready by the time you wake up.
yeah, or you take like a quick bathroom break, and they are back at 100%.
No, that's really cool. So what is the current state of development? I know you talked about beta, but when
Mhm.
exactly is it like expected to launch? And I know you didn't talk about the crowdfunding, but can you talk about when that will open?
So since mid summer, we've been doing the beta testing. We've sent kits to I think 12 people so far. Um, Overall feedback has been extremely positive. I think out of those 12, I think 10 of them were using Lighthouse tracking before, and they've pretty much switched over to Flaxpost as their main tracking system for daily use, just because they find it more comfortable, more reliable. So we're very happy with that, and probably the main feedback that they've given us is, for example, the fast charging thing. That we didn't think fast charging was important for people, but pretty much everyone in the beta really wanted to have fast charging. So that's something we are adding, for example, in release hardware. We've also fixed, obviously, many bugs. We've optimized many things in the UI, made a easier to use application, everything. So the idea is that in something like a month or two from now, so maybe mid-November or maybe even December, we are going to open up for pre-orders. We might do a Kickstarter, because again, that's the easiest way we think to collect taxes and everything. It's probably the easiest thing for us. But the goal of the Kickstarter is just to make sure we get enough money to pay for all the molding costs for plastics, for all the different certifications in all the different parts of the world, and pretty much that, because all the hardware we have right now is pretty much final, other than the small fixes that we've seen during the beta. So it's so that's why we're doing a Kickstarter.
And when
And
do you expect to finally like launch the project if you have a deadline?
yes, so the Kickstarter is going to launch on November, December, and we should be able to get the peoples to the get the products to the people in around Q3 next year. So sometime maybe September next year. So like a year from now, maybe a bit earlier, depends on how things work out. But yeah, like everything is pretty much final. So if I think it's safe to say that, yeah.
Okay. And how would you say that the tracking compares to similar solutions like Vive trackers, Vive Ultimate
Mhm.
trackers, Pico trackers, all those other things?
Yeah. So Flaxbox trackers, I mean, this is something very important to understand, and it's something very hard to explain. So Flaxbox trackers actually can know both their position and rotation in space. So they are very similar to Lighthouse track devices and also things like the Vive Ultimate trackers. And because they know the position in space, for example, you will only need one tracker per leg in your feet, and that's enough. You don't need to have one in every part of the leg. And compared to Lighthouse trackers, we are way smaller. I mean, you can see the actual size here, right in my arm. They are very small.
Cool.
They are they also don't suffer from occlusion. You don't need base station, so you can sleep in your bed and use and whatever you can I think we have a demo showing that they track below like blanket or anything, so you don't have to worry about occlusion. They track below your table, which is important, for example, right now. And
That's
it
really
should also
cool.
be quite a bit cheaper than Lighthouse, especially if you don't already own base stations. Then it's way cheaper. And compared with slimes, well, yeah, I mean, slimes or other IMU trackers like Mocopi or so on. We know the actual position of the trackers, so we don't need to rely on an extensive calibration of your skeleton or do any like skeleton approximations to know the position of the devices. You need to wear way less devices because again, we don't need one device on every part of the leg, and things like that. So, if you are comparing tracking systems, I would compare Flaxpose more with Lighthouse because we know the position of every device and behaves pretty much the same. So if you, for example, use 3 Tundra trackers before or 5 trackers, you could replace that by the 3 tracker kit from Flaxpose and it should work pretty much the same.
So another question I had regarding to like calibration is because they use electromagnetic fields partially. So
Yeah.
could you like just like take them halfway across the world and they would still work perfectly fine and you don't need to change anything, and or do you need to like calibrate at all?
Yeah, so when you get your Flaxbox kit, you can just plug it in and it should work out of the box in like 2 minutes, like as long as it takes you to, put on all the straps and the devices in your body. We calibrate them very extensively here. When we assemble them, we calibrate them a lot over different temperature ranges and pretty much everything. So we don't expect any kind of calibration from the end user. We do so for every headset. We actually do a calibration. For example, let's say you have like a Valve Index HMD. We are going to ship you a very small adapter that is going to go into in your headset with some adhesive tape already pre-applied. Once you put that on your headset and you choose that you're using a Valve Index in the software is going to load a headset calibration with all the offsets and everything already calculated by us. But in the weird case that you want to DIY your own adapter, you're using a very, very weird headset or so on, we also provide like a very small application that will automatically create the calibration for you with just like a few minutes of movements. So
Okay.
there's no calibration from the end user. Shouldn't be.
And I've heard this one a lot, but I wanted to like clarify this one because I'm not too sure either. So, do metallic surfaces, magnets, whatever, do they affect tracking quality, including like the headset, for example, what you said it's calibrated for? But what about other surfaces?
Yeah, so basically metal is the only enemy of Flaxpose, for example, because we use magnetic fields, and magnetic feels like metal. So basically the rule of thumb here is that trackers are only affected by metal if they are extremely close to them. So, for example, let's say you have your phone in your hand. If you put it right next to literally try touching a tracker, that tracker will deviate in space a few centimeters, a few inches. But the moment you move that phone or metal bar or whatever away from the tracker itself, and the tracker will recover pretty much instantly, and there is no permanent effect or anything like that. Like, just to give you a quick example, you could I mean, I usually I'm usually in VRChat with the phone in my pocket, and it's perfectly fine. Like if it's literally not exactly next to a tracker, it has no effect.
Then,
The other kind of metal that you may have is if your house is like a very high, very tall apartment building, for example, an old house with a lot of rebar in the concrete and so on, which which I mean at the end is just metal in your building. For those kind of scenarios, because we want the system to work for everyone, if you are using 2 trackers per leg, so tracking your knee and your feet, for example, we can do way more tricks, and basically Flaxbus will behave pretty much the same for you in your worst case scenario as it will be for someone in a perfect, environment.
okay. And does it affect like do you think it affects other devices like if you have gloves that use IMUs or like stretch sensors or anything like that? Or do you think it will impact them?
So here we've tried this with pretty much every other tracking system we've tried with Slimes, we've tried with Tundras, with trackers, with pretty much every headset in the market. We've never seen any issues, like any kind of issues. For specifically IMU devices, like for example the new immersive gloves and things like that. Just from the point of view of the gloves themselves, they shouldn't even notice that they have Flaxpose around. We use our magnetic fields are not static, so they are not magnets. What we use are AC magnetic fields that run at high frequencies, and because those IMUs are not designed to detect them, they will literally not even see them or notice them at all. But what I want to point out is that if you're wearing, if for some medical reason you're wearing something like a pacemaker or something like that, I would obviously recommend that you use a different tracking solution instead of FlaxPose, just in case. It should be fine, but why risk it, right?
Yeah, that's fair. And is it compatible with other things, like for example, the different straps, charging stations, and like pins underneath the tracker that Vive trackers have?
So,
Yeah.
So in terms of mounting, because our trucks are so small, we use like a magnetic attachment. So all the straps and dogs and everything is magnetically attached. But to maintain backwards compatibility with people that already own straps for Tundra devices, for Vive 3.0s that use like a 1/4 inch screw, we will also provide like a magnetic to 1.4, 1/4 of an inch screw adapter, so they can reuse their existing straps with our new system. And about the connector, just really quick, we support sending data out to the device and to the outside, pretty much the same way Tundra does. And we want to allow this because we want to support like a community of DIY people creating personal controllers or integrating this into their own DIY things and tracking them and so on.
All right, thank you so much. Thank you so much for your time and for talking about
Thank you.
FluxPose. It's been really interesting. Does anybody have any short questions about FluxPose yet that I haven't answered or that Alejandro has not answered?
Any questions? Questions in the chat? There is actually a question in the chat that I have here for you. What measures are being implemented to mitigate foot skating with FluxPose?
So if there is any foot skating with FluxPose, it's because we rely on the HMD itself to know its position. So it's like two systems collaborating with each other. And if they disagree, they might result on that. In the last few updates for our beta testers, we've implemented some extra features. And as you will see in the demo we are going to release in a few days, right now the skating is pretty much inexistent. So we've pretty much fixed it already. It shouldn't be something that you will notice at all.
Okay, cool. I actually really like the tracking quality. I think the people on Twitch actually saw the footage, which is really cool. Oh, there's actually another question. Does FluxPose synergize in any way with other body trackers like Vive 3.0, Tundra, or IMU only systems like Slime VR?
So not in a very direct way, but you could just mix and match different tracking systems, and it's going to work just fine. Like you could have FluxPose in one leg, and then like slimes or tundras in the other leg, and it's going to work just fine. But nothing else.
Would UWB positioning work?
We
Not
don't
entirely sure.
we don't use ultra wideband positioning for anything. I mean, we might use it in the future for a few tricks that we can do because the hardware supports it, but right now we don't use it at all.
If you want to read them out, you can do.
Oh, that one? Would anyone have any reason to use more than 8 trackers on the body? Well, I can probably answer that one. I mean, I use elbow trackers right now. They also function as shoulder trackers. You can put them on your knees. You can put more trackers on your hip if you want to make sure, extra sure that it doesn't drift for whatever reason. And you can also, if you wanted to do like, I don't know, independent elbow and shoulder tracking, you can do that.
So
how long
I think I
until I
can.
can kill it?
So I think I can answer this in a different way. In the demos that you've been seeing, in some of them we've been using gloves, and if you want to use gloves, for example, then you need 2 more trackers, and that's one case where you need at least 10 trackers and and the beacon, so 11-point tracking plus the controller, plus the headset. So that's one case where you need that. And also answering that question, FluxPose supports as many trackers as you want. So if you have any kind of application that might use it, you can do that. And if SteamVR or OpenXR doesn't support getting that many trackers directly, you can always interface with the app through an API. It's a very easy to use API and get that data for yourself.
And when did you say they were coming out? Next year, or like around about
So
a year from now?
So the Kickstarter is opening in a month or two, probably mid-November or late November, and we plan on actually getting them to people by Q3 next year.
Okay.
Cool.
Got it.
Oh, I'm looking forward to this. They look so
Mhm.
good. I don't.
Really well. I still want to get a set to test them
Yeah.
out or something.
Like everybody
If you need
does.
any more testers, please let us know. It's good. It's good.
Thank you.
I also have to mention everything that we've been talking about and that we're still going to talk about today is going to be linked in the description if on the video and on the stream. Also, we have our very cool producer who also will let you know where you can get those triggers, where you can pre-order them, where you can get more information about them. It's really, really cool. And you know what? Let's get right into the topic of world exploration. And we have Karen for this.
Oh.
Hello.
Hey, hey, hello everybody. Hello. I hope you all had a good month. So I have made another fine selection of amazing worlds for you today. But first, like last time, grab your pillows, straighten your blankets,
Ooh.
and dig out those cuddle puddles, because we have another relaxing world reel for you to enjoy. Whew. After all that relaxing,
Wow.
I guess we all need to get into some action and get our feet moving. So, PK's Break series is renowned by a lot of VR enthusiasts who want a real, authentic VR experience. In the end, it's quite hard to put into word what Break is, and I highly recommend that you check one of these out. For our second world for today, amazing world creator Mankey returns with a beautiful world that borrows heavily from the game Journey. Enjoy. Whew, that was kind of amazing, right?
Wow.
Whoa.
I could
And
live in
we
that
got
second
actually
one.
got we got a viewer question, so let's have a look. Is this actually one world? Yes, it is actually one world. But the break series is there's a lot of different break series. I highly recommend that you check 12 out as well. Though keep in mind it takes 2 hours from start to finish, so you're in for a treat. Yeah. So yeah, after all the action, so let's settle down and relax a little bit. So world creator Harim was well featured in last month's episode, and I surprisingly met up with him in VRChat, and I now know that they're influenced by the great world designer Honey, who makes a lot of really
Ooh.
amazing worlds. They were taught actually by Honey. So and since then they have released another great world, which is called The Steps of Time. The final world that we're going to show today is a very personal gift by the talented Lily the Cat, which I had the pleasure to present on release day. So, this one specifically struck an emotional chord with me, and I hope you will all enjoy this beautiful world. Oh,
Wow.
so wow. And that's the end for the world selection of today's episode. Thanks for watching, and I'll be scouting for amazing worlds and experiences. So see you next time.
Great, great. Now, this is almost the end. I do have some things that I have to mention. First of all, feel free to join our group in our vrchat group to get right here behind us into the stage, because we do have people watching here live right now as well, and not only in Twitch but also in this world. It's really cool. And we have something super special coming very, very soon that we'll be posting in our socials. I'm not gonna tell you, it's a secret, but it's gonna be very, very, very cool. And that is all for today. I really want to thank everyone who came here to the table, Karen, Wolfie, and Alejandro, for you guys to be here. We got an amazing crew again. It's amazing every time. So much fun. Thank you thank you so much for watching the stream, guys. Thank you so much for everyone who came live here in our I see everyone here. And we'll see each other in the next episode of the Evolve show. And thank you so much again for Alejandro for coming to our show today. Thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
showing you the trackers that you guys are working on. It's really, really interesting.
you.
Keep us up to date. And if you do need test subjects, 1, 2, 3, we're sitting all
We're
here in the
We're
line.
here for you. Yes, yes, we're here for you.
All right. Thank you guys so much. We'll see each other in the next episode.
Bye.